From the ashes of the old world, in the shadows of the last great war, the world was shattered by magic. Plains became deserts, mountains crumbled into the sea. Witches and heretics are burned in the street, lined with oathbreakers hung by their necks. Where once was law, order, empire, now only hardship and savagery remain. To the east, in Highport, a weary king rules an ungrateful people. To the west, his brother keeps swords sheathed and words of rebellion at bay. To the north and south, savage elves and cowardly dwarves openly practice arcane arts, shrouded by leaf and stone. In a time when a man's worth is measured by his word, when might makes right, and a quick death is a mercy, only those more foolish than brave venture far from home. The age of peace and prosperity has ended. In its place, only strife.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Age of Strife. How are you guys doing today?
Brilliant.
Pretty tired. Otherwise,
Pretty tired at 1 p.m. on a Sunday.
hey, I went to bed at 6:30 a.m. last night.
Ooh,
So,
wow. Is that a typical, or is that something special?
no, it's pretty atypical. But Skyrim was calling.
Is this wasn't there a recently remastered version of Skyrim?
Yeah, that's what got me to start playing it again. Yeah, it is that.
How is it compared to old Skyrim?
Shiny.
The same thing. Like the remastered, I haven't even noticed a single change really. But I have 100 hours in it anyway. So.
Oh my god. Was it supposed to be a visual overhaul, or was there something else going on?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be a visual update for consoles mostly, and they gave it to people who owned it already on PC for free.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured might as well see what's up.
Cool. What about the rest of you?
Tired. I just woke up. Yeah, that 4:00 start. Oh, yeah.
You're a madman.
Well, plus pretty white because had a marathon session of D&D yesterday, so DMing it. So
How long is
takes
the
time.
marathon?
It was 6 hours, and because it stopped at its normal time, and then everyone wanted to keep on going, so I obliged, and I had to make crumbed lamb cutlets afterwards. That was good. Mel was happy. I've been playing the dwarves recently. Very interesting little game.
The dwarves?
Yeah, the dwarves. It's a game based off of the book series. Just went on Steam. It's it starts off and it feels almost like a D&D campaign. Just with the narration, and you can tell you failed your major perception check, or at least it seems that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually just very, very linear, and it makes me appreciate being able to sit down here.
Very cool. So, what about you, Autumn? Anything going on with you?
Oh, I was talking to you earlier about how I was feeling ill for the first time in like years, and I'm okay. I've survived it. Illnesses used to brush off me because I was really heavy before, and I guess because now that I'm lighter, it just changes. Last Thursday, I DM'd from my group and have not landed the meteor on the city yet because battles take really long. So the whole session was the battle. Well, 2 hours at least of it.
Cool. And?
Well, the players won. I expected them to because they had much more numbers and powers.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they do with the information they've gained from the invaders that will make more interest to me. Oh, and I picked up another player because I had a guy I used to play a game with, and then we started a one-on-one game, which went on to level 6. And then one person left our game because he was becoming very busy. So I asked them if they wanted to merge together. So we leveled them up so that he's the same sort of level.
Mm-hmm.
After all this downtime that we're going through, we'll have a new necromancer to join the party.
Cool. Anything in particular about this necromancer? Does he have an army of undead with him?
He doesn't yet, but he will gain them over the downtime. We'll discuss them. But the interesting thing about him is that he raided the body of an archmage back when he was level 1.
Raided the body of an archmage at level 1. So you're talking like epic magic loot?
Kind of. He went with some soldiers in the military to investigate this wizard's tower that fell.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up looting the archmage's body, got his magical hat and robes, and his staff, and his spellbook.
Well, that is a very valuable thing for a first level character to come across.
And it's perfectly reasonable in a one-on-one game to do that, I think.
Yeah. You can do all sorts of fun stuff in one-on-one games.
Yeah.
Right.
Amulets of Malchus.
Yes. Epic loot.
When's Luther finding his amulet of Malchus? I'm getting impatient.
You know, it was going to be found by Ty, but now that he's dead, I guess we're just going to have to cut it from the game.
Look, you can give me an amulet of Raluna if you want. If ever a town needed Malchus, it was this one.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what happened last week. What happened last week?
Actually, quite a bit. We got done. We leveled up at the end, so me and Pat leveled up. Level 2. We are now only just small scrubs. Let's see. We went to the tower, but before that, that's right. There was a caravan. We were asked by a servant representing the Genhall family, supposedly, that they had lost a caravan while gambling, which seemed rather strange to us. It also seemed rather strange that the servant would be the one approaching us. So it seemed more likely that it was a slight, or at least from my perspective, there was a slight on our name. So it was us and doing the dealing. However, we looked into this and then found out that it wasn't actually the Genhall family. It was we don't know who it was. But so we spoiled their plans and had a discussion with the Genhall family about that. So hopefully we're in their good graces slightly more. Then we went out from there. I think there was the burning, and then we left and went on our first adventure to the lighthouse, where we accosted and assaulted a woman in her own home, and when she defended herself, we killed her.
Well, that's certainly my take of events.
Well, there was a little bit more to it than that. We saw the sea, we camped, and then we woke up, and all our weapons were gone because Ginger was slack on watch and couldn't stay awake. So, obviously, she didn't just kill us in our sleep. So that was a defensive move on her part. That was a big mistake to take away the warrior's weapons that they're married to. It was a big mistake, and so we lost our head and went charging in, which involved climbing to the top of the tower and then climbing back down and all those other sorts of things. Anyway, we got in there. Of course, Luther, being the gentleman he went straight into the woman's bedchambers, where she obviously approved and tried to get him to fall asleep. However, she then summoned skeletons, so that was a little bit too much for Luther and his tris. So the skeletons did weird things, like they were probably not skeletons, but we can't really be sure. They went through our attacks, etc. But being incorporeal, but then solidified as they wrapped their hands around our necks. And so Luther went down. Ginger wasn't looking good. I wasn't looking good. But then Ginger, the heroine, successfully slew the poor defensive girl who was waving our spear around, and we resolved heroic.
That you did, and you've looted everything and headed back to Wadsworth, where you have paid your monthly expenses, and we are starting on the 1st of December, which is actually a Thursday instead of a Sunday. So let's talk about news in and around town, especially external news about the kingdom.
Oh, my favorite part of the sessions.
Yes. So last week we had heard that the Black Guard had been sent out and had their first engagement with orcs. Or maybe we hadn't heard that yet, but this week we're hearing that the reports of the Blackguard's first engagement with the orcs have finally reached Wadsworth. And by all accounts, the surge of fresh troops caught the orcs off guard and sent them fleeing into the woods to lick their wounds. There is kind of cheering in the streets and revelry all around as people hearing the news of the mighty human warriors beating back the wretched orcs, and kind of a sense of, oh yes, those poor Westerners, they couldn't do anything, but we send a small brigade of Easterners over there, and we can, send these orcs running and licking their wounds. Aren't we so great? And so everyone in town is very excited and happy about all of this, and feeling pretty good. That is the news from the world as a whole. What are you guys doing in town right now?
I'd like to figure out how the town is responding to the slander on the sheriff that has been put forward over this period of time.
How do you go about finding that information? You're a noble. You're going to definitely get a different story than people are going to tell each other.
That is interesting. So,
yeah. How do you get the truth of what the people really feel? How do you keep your pulse on the town when they view you as, the ruling class?
So I would listen to what other people are saying when it comes to the sheriff.
But where are you hearing these people? If you're walking around through the marketplace, people are going to be keenly aware of your presence and may modify their speech in your presence.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you're standing next to the prime minister, you may or may not be saying certain things in his presence, or a minister of parliament or anything like that. It can be difficult to keep your pulse on the feel of the people. So how do you go about it?
I think in one of the taverns while ordering a meal, I would ask the waitress or waiter to just say, have any more gangs been arrested recently?
Shaking her head, no, I don't think so.
Well, I guess I need to work harder then. Me and my family, we've been putting more criminals locked away than the sheriff has.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Well, here's to you, she says, pouring a drink and cheersing with you.
And does the sheriff protect you?
Oh, I think the sheriff does a job of protecting us all. Difficult job, that is. A lot of ruffians in this town.
Yeah, he does get a lot of help, though.
I suppose. They're good men serving in the watch.
You don't remember the time that there was a werewolf?
Yeah, she's about to leave to go serve another patron and kind of comes back and goes, yes, I do believe someone said something about a werewolf in town, but no.
Well, it was my brother who actually was able to defeat it.
The thorns, right.
Yeah.
Good job, milady. Give my best to your brother. Thank him for me. We all appreciate the lack of werewolves in our town.
All right. So I will finish the food and have one prepared for takeaway for my father, who likes to try, different foods and the same foods when they're good.
Okay. All right, you take some food back to your father. Everyone else, what are you guys doing? Just hanging around?
In the meantime, I do have a date with the sheriff to go drinking with him, so I'm sure. I'm sure that will happen at some point.
Yeah, that can be happening right now.
Yeah, so I mean, how much do you want to go into this? Is there role playing opportunities here?
Yeah, well, let's just see. Let's see what you're doing.
All right.
Let's get at least a feel for it.
All right, so I'm going to head to the sheriff's. I'm going to start off. I'm just going to say to him, "So, Sheriff, I believe tonight is the night that we have arranged. Are you ready to go and party?"
I'll put on my very nicest dress.
Very good. In that case, I'll be buying you your dinner as well then.
Gives a bit of a chuckle. Do you have a place in mind?
I think we'll see where our whimsy takes us.
Well, I'll see you here just around sundown.
Very good. And then at sundown, I come down in my.
Well, hold on. We're not quite at sundown yet, actually. Let's flip over to Luther.
Mhm.
Anything you're doing during the day here, Luther?
Yeah, actually, I think I'm gonna talk to Joseph about the journals I got from the lighthouse.
Okay.
I'm gonna show them to him and see if he knows anything.
He flips through the journals and goes, "Well, these are in a strange sort of script."
Mm-hmm. Do you know anything about it?
Looks kind of like Elven.
Elven.
Well, it's been a long time since I've seen any text like that, and I don't read it myself. But it looks sort of like it. It's definitely not Dwarven. See the loop here at the bottom of that character? It's a pretty fancy hand.
Yes, it seems so. We got this from the woman in the lighthouse we went to, but
Might be halfling?
the whole situation is very strange.
It might be halfling. Halflings and elves are distant cousins. Their scripts are closer cousins.
Who would speak such a language? What humans?
Well, I mean, elves may be mystical, fancy pants bastards, but their language ain't anything that impressive. It's decipherable by pretty much anyone with a brain that spends the time to learn it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't anything more common than common.
Well, Joseph, I don't know if I told you this, but this woman, she's magic.
Yeah, you said there was some sort of witch in the lighthouse. You chopped her head off and burned it and threw her body into the ocean?
Yes,
Good call.
yes, it may have been a little bit of overkill, but you can never
No,
trust
it's a good idea. It's a shame you didn't have enough wood to burn the whole body.
Yes.
You gotta be careful with
limited
these witches. You don't take care of them properly, they come back to haunt you.
Do you know anything about how magic works? That's what I'm trying to figure out recently. It seemed that she could just create things without any effort at all.
Yep.
Very
Just
strange.
summoning stuff out of the air, as it were. Your father had seen people rise whole armies of the dead. His former friends up to fight him. And you still catch a few zombies out in the swamp these days, or out in the woods.
Yes, I've heard about those.
More than a few as of late, actually.
might actually be a decent investigation if I want to continue learning.
Yes, you do well to understand the range of magic that could be facing you, but you be careful not to be tempted by it. Magic is a mighty powerful thing, and more than one good-hearted person has been entranced by it, ensorcelled by it, and ends up being a dark-dealing sorcerer of sorts. And I'd hate to have to burn you too, nephew. You be careful with that.
I wouldn't like to be burned, really.
Little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing.
Indeed. Well, one more thing before I go. We also found this ball of quartz, or at least I think it's quartz, and I take it out of my bag and show it to him.
Interesting.
Doesn't seem natural, does it?
I know, it's definitely carved, sanded down.
I wondered if anyone had seen something like this before, but that might be a long shot.
I don't know. It's not a very good paperweight. It'll just roll away.
Indeed it will.
Weird stuff. It's right about now that you guys start to hear the church bells ring. And not in a pleasant, someone's getting married sort of way, but in like the town alarm is being rung. I think Ginger is getting home about now from getting food. And Stefan, you've probably been home for a little while from the sheriff's station, so you're all at the house, and you hear the church bells clanging something awful.
Well, that's not good. Shall we? What could it be?
Joseph looks, I don't know. Why don't you youngins go find out what's going on?
Oh, yes, I suppose we should, though. I don't feel much like a youngin'. Not recently, anyway.
You're only 33. Wait till you get to my age. Those little aches and pains you got are going to be something different.
Hanging around with all these... my brothers and sisters.
You know, it takes me 2 tries to get out of bed these days.
I'm not quite that far gone, thankfully.
Well,
Carrying around all that armor, you should see me sometimes. It's a scene.
Brother, the bells. We
Yeah. Let's shall we take our weapons or leave them for now?
weapons seem appropriate. What is? It depends on what the bells signify.
well, this is the alarm bell that's ringing. It's the
Let's
back
get
of-
armor on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm already armored. I'm going to pick up my shield and one of my spears.
Okay.
And my backpack with my horn medical kit.
Yeah, I guess Luther reluctantly gets all this stuff packed up and gets his armor on.
All
I
right.
get a servant to put my armor on for me.
Yes, a servant helps you put your gear on. After a few minutes, you're all armored up and ready to go. You can head out into town, and my question for you is, where do you go?
Do we know what the bells signify, or is it just a general?
No,
call
this
to
is
alarm?
a general alarm. This could be like a fire. This could be an enemy force attacking. This could be, anything where everyone ought to poke their heads up and like figure out what the hell's going on. It's a general alarm.
So, where the bells are rang from the temple, right?
Yes, which is right next to your house.
Is it just the temple or in other places around town as well?
No, the temple is the only place with the church bells.
Okay.
Well, I guess we go see the sheriff earlier than I had anticipated and see what he knows of the situation. I guess we can ask people along the way if they appear to know.
We can walk past the temple.
Okay. Yes, you can. So the sheriff's sheriff station's away from the temple. So are you gonna come out your door and around past the temple, or are you gonna come out towards the sheriff's station?
I think Luther would like to go down the main street into the sheriff's station.
Okay.
He just assumes that the temple's fine.
I will follow the party, of course.
Right. So you guys head out down to the main street and start making your way to the central market. And there, out in the streets, people are packed. Everyone's looking around. Everyone's talking to each other. What the hell's going on? What's happening? And you start to hear these people talking about a giant. As you try and make your way through the thicket, you hear that north of town has been spotted a massive giant. Some people are estimating the height to be 20 feet tall. Some people are saying it's 30 feet tall. Out in the swamp, maybe a mile or so away from town.
Okay. We're definitely going to see the sheriff then, I think.
For a while then I thought that someone had let another monster into town.
You make your way to the sheriff's place and find it completely empty. Except for the 2 people in jail.
Well, I'm guessing he's gone to the north.
Yeah.
I don't think a monster's come into town, but I'm sure there's one knocking on the door, or on the walls in this case. We head across the bridge, I'm guessing.
All right, you head to the bridge, north side of Wadsworth, where you can in fact see the sheriff and some of his men up on the wall, looking out towards the swamp. There's a large crowd gathered at the northern market, but as you get closer to the gate, people have kind of pulled back, and you can hear the fear in people's voices as they hurriedly and hushedly talk amongst themselves about what to do. Is this the end of times? Are we all going to die? What's going to happen? The fear that comes with monsters on the outside of the walls.
How high is our wall?
15 feet.
Okay. Shall we go meet the sheriff on top then?
Sounds good to me.
If it's a giant, that does not sound good to me, but I shall follow.
That part sounds quite bad.
Stefan, you surely
Listen,
want to see the greater things in life?
Yeah, this is true. You're quite correct, sister. Lead on.
Yeah.
Right. You guys climb the walls near the sheriff, and you can see, sure enough, there is a giant out there, maybe a mile or so away from town, but you can clearly see the figure. It's got to be the height of 5 men, maybe 4 men. It's a mile away. Maybe it's a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles. It's hard to gauge the proper height of this creature, but it is at 20, 30 feet tall, maybe more. But it seems to not be paying any attention to you. It is moving to the west through the stinking marsh.
So is the sheriff nearby?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll go over to him and say, well, it looks like the giant's just bypassing the town, doesn't it?
He nods. Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't turn around and head back this way. Hopefully it just keeps on walking to that forest and goes and stomps on some elves.
Yeah, I suppose it's not worth the trouble trying to kill it if it isn't gonna...
Oh, like we could kill that. Look at it! How would you kill something like that?
Lots of arrows, I suppose.
Think the arrows would ever get past its skin? I think it's gotta have a hide like a... Well, like a giant bear. Or just a giant.
Yeah, you may be right.
Jesus.
Gee, if that thing comes here, would the walls hold?
Well,
Can't quite gauge its height. In fact, why don't you all make me perception checks to see if anyone can get an accurate gauge of its height. I'm gonna need like a 30 for an accurate gauge, 25 to get close.
$23 is a pass.
Yeah, not enough. Looking for a...
Could I estimate that it's definitely taller than our wall?
So close.
You're pretty sure it's taller than the wall.
So if it's taller than the wall, Stefan, then with its arms raised, it doesn't need to break down a wall. It can just climb over.
This is very true.
Uh,
So with that in mind, Sheriff, hopefully the town has a plan to deal with this thing if it comes in.
I'm working on it.
like-
Well, work fast.
Have we known about this giant before? Has it
You
been
know
seen?
that giants do live in the area. They live south, mostly. The area of Hagthor's claim. Hagthor is a giant who has claimed this land. Thus, its very unoriginal name of Hagthor's claim. And occasionally they steal people, or at least that's the rumor, is that the giants will pick up people and take them. And that whole kind of hilly region has just been more or less abandoned to the giants who live there. There's a bit about it in the monster notes and stuff.
Okay.
Seeing the giant, it all becomes clear why we just ceded it to him.
Yeah, I mean, how would you? What else would you do, right?
Well, perhaps we can talk to our brother. Maybe he can think of a way to kill something so big. I can't see us having any power over this. No, brother, sorry, our cousin.
Oh. Oh, wow, then I thought you were wanting to speak to the dead.
Yeah, he can't help anyone where he is.
Okay. So you guys watch. The giant wades his way into the forest and slowly gets covered by the trees. So he's not taller than the height of the canopy in the Blackthorn Forest. But as he walks, you can kind of see a little bit of rustling of trees in the distance. Only for a little bit, and then, you know, the great distance makes it too hard to really see anything, and the giant vanishes.
We
Well-
might need some scouts to stay in the forest, but that's risky. We definitely need people on the west side of the wall to keep watch at all times now that we can't see that giant.
I think if it comes for us, then we'll know.
Yeah, I think if it comes for us, we're all kind of screwed. Countess is around. The sheriff turns and starts heading back, making his way through the crowd, followed by a few of his men-at-arms. Most of them stay up on the wall. It appears the whole contingent of the 12 soldiers are out and about, presuming that a few are still watching the south gate. But the giant's gone. Disappears into the forest. And you guys are left to your own devices again.
Byra, Luna. I guess the sideshow is over. Shall we head back?
Yeah.
I suppose so.
So, what are we gonna do?
Well, I think the question is, what can we do? I say we was an engineer and finding solutions to problems, but beyond that and beyond putting all of the peasants in this town in front of us, I think there's not a great deal we can do. And it's gone off anyway, so maybe it won't be a thing. Maybe it's just going to have tea with the elves.
Having a giant nearby feels scary. It feels like if we were to, say, go out somewhere, we'd have to leave at some point, even if we were staying to try and protect the town from the giant. It feels like that the giant could just attack while we're gone. And
Well, if we're here or if we're gone, would there be any difference? Except for, of course, public perception. But
Yeah, so we are I would say, the best fitted for fighting things, and we are not fit for fighting that. So if it does attack, it doesn't matter if we're here or in the River Grove.
I mean, look at these, and I hold up my short swords. What would this do to a giant?
Maybe an arrow to the eye.
An arrow to the eye, arrow to the knee.
Soft spot somewhere. Well,
yeah, but learning its soft spots would be rather disastrous.
Hopefully, we won't have to know them.
I tell you what's very interesting is the fear in the townsfolk, as you said, to see the monsters up face to face. Brother, I think our time may be coming. The status quo will not stay. Depending on what happens next, I guess. But And I guess we head back to home.
Yeah, you guys are back in the house by now. You can be having this conversation there, and you have the whole of your family to use as resources in this moment.
Father Maximilian, a little help if you may.
Your father is seated in one of the parlors next to his new wife. I guess she's not that new. Arms crossed, hearing the story of the giant, kind of nodding, going, well, that's, giants are a terrible thing.
But do they smell terrible?
You've been a lot of places. Have you ever been to Hagthor's Claim? Maybe seen Hagthor?
Before it was Hagthor's Claim, yeah. There were a few villages out there a long time ago. A couple of fortresses, too. All abandoned and ruined now. I think Hagthor crushed them. Just demolished them. That's, when we ceded the land to him. Or, when the Countess ceded the land.
Wonder how much land a giant would need.
Well, he's got his family. It's not just him,
Oh. I didn't... Oh! What if this is... the Hagthor's son come to claim our land? The whole area could just be Hagthor's family claim if we don't resist it.
That's true, but it's also the possibility they're just going about doing their business, and if you try to resist it, you'll just incur their wrath.
What business could they be doing? I've never heard of the giants coming up near Wadsworth.
Giants working with elves, witches in lighthouses, witches in town, nobles being captured. Ugh, what an age we live in.
Well, what can we do about it? How do we stop it?
Well, we don't really stop it until it threatens us. 'Cause right now it's just moving, isn't it?
Where a 900-pound gorilla sits?
Wherever it wants to.
Exactly. Similarly, a 30-ton giant does whatever it wants to do. I don't imagine there's anything we could do to resist it if it came here.
So we don't threaten it if it comes close, because it will just destroy us.
Well, see, that's the thing, sister. If say Hagthor's family has increased and they are spreading out, then if it is war, then waiting until it comes upon us means that we have no chance. If we can find some way to hold it up or do something, then that's good. Otherwise, we might as well just prepare to leave the city if that comes.
So what, like set a giant trap? Dig a giant hole with spikes in it?
Be a hell of a hole. Did you get an idea of how big it is?
Oh yeah. It's, what, taller than our wall?
Smaller than the forest canopy.
Well, that forest canopy goes up to about 45, 50 feet, I think. 60 feet.
There you go. So somewhere in between that.
The height of a forest canopy, actually.
Well, I was only joking about the hole. We're not actually going to dig holes. That's for,
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous.
peasants.
Yeah. Well,
Instead, though, if we were going to set a trap, it would be something that we can lure it into that would, how do we say, you talking about how we don't know its weaknesses. We want a trap that can expose its weaknesses. If we were to do that. So
To expose its weakness and trap it, you have already surpassed its weakness.
that's what I can't figure out, that bit.
no. You guys are sounding a lot like the priest down at the temple, worrying about what the gods' intentions might be for us mere mortals. When really, there's no way to know. You know, some things in life you just can't do nothing about.
You listen a lot to that priest.
Huh?
I mean, I've never gotten to go visit the priest. Is he worth listening to?
No. Absolutely not. Bunch of rubbish.
Well, Maximilian, is there something you could jury up to hurt something that big?
I suppose if we had the building materials, we could make a ballista or a battery of ballistas, but it would take
A ballista?
it would take a lot of resources, a lot of manpower, and a lot of time. If the giant shows up soon, it would be waste. Take weeks to set up ballistas.
Actually, that's very interesting. You know, the town has seen the threat of the giant. Maybe we could build this ballista and then offer it to the count as a way of settling the population. Perhaps. Well, do we know what ballista are, Neil?
Yeah, you would be familiar with them.
Perhaps we could even call it a thorn, a big thorn. Just to remind the populace of who is their true saviors.
Your father nods and goes, "That's not a bad idea."
It certainly may, even if we offer that to the countess, then surely she would be well enamored to us. Maybe even enough. This is obviously going off with the fairies, but enough to give us a couple of landed villages. Or to
Well,
make us
let's not get ahead of ourselves here. There's no idea how that might actually work out. Let's let's not get our hopes up.
We can all dream, Father, and without hope, then how can you have passions?
Yeah, but you get too much hope and you just end up being disappointed and hurt and incensed. Be content with your lot in life, son. It's far better than I had when I was born.
It sounds like you have the heartbeat of Wadsworth close to your chest there, Father.
Not sure I like that comparison.
And yet I find it strangely apt even still. Perhaps you should think on that.
Let's see, costs for building ballista. There's costs for building other Siege weapons.
Ooh, I feel like we have enough to start building it, but maybe not complete it.
I mean, depending on what's needed, like the research time and all that sort of thing. I mean, it would be even better if it wasn't built. Like, let's just say the giant did attack. It would be perfect if we not have the defense there, but then everyone would recognize a true need for it, and then we suddenly come up with a design. So that'd be pretty cool. The price would go up.
Also, if all the town are scared, then they might join in and donate what they can to help building defenses.
Yeah, exactly right. Like if we can go up to the countess with the plan of, hey, blisters, we can make them, give us money. Yeah, that might work.
And we have like an infinite number of laborers because all the town people will want to help, I think, if they care about their lives and their place that they live in. We just have to know that the giant is definitely going to attack and that the ballistas are definitely the way to beat it. I think you're suddenly muted.
We'd have to wait up if the countess was willing to put in the gold. Maybe that she just let some of the town go because it's cheaper, and the cost of losing the populace or their favor or their security, she might decide to be worth it, depending on how wise a leader she is.
Well, what's stopping this giant from also destroying her Thornwatch Keep?
How big was Thornwatch Keep? I mean, my first
4
impression
stories.
is 4 stories. So
Yeah.
absolutely nothing.
So there you go. If we are able to construct ballista, then we offer them to the keep as well.
What's to stop the countess from saying, thank you, I'll take all of them onto the keep?
Well, the fact that we have none right now.
Of course, then you've got to actually train people to use a ballista. This is not an easy or a good solution on short notice, but
It definitely can't be done by tonight.
no. But the thing is we're not actually using it as it's more of a tool to show that we provide security.
Luther's daydreaming about having a giant as the captain of his guard.
Would it be possible to communicate with the giant? I'd say to our father.
Wow. I don't know if they speak common.
So back before Hagthor made his claim, did he just show
He
off?
just showed up, and eventually we just left him to it. To be honest, I don't know how we know his name is Hagthor. Clearly, someone must have communicated with him at some point, unless that's just our name for him.
If only there was someone who studied some sort of ancient history.
Oh, no. Joseph speaks up. That's not ancient history that we need to study. We need someone trained in folklore to answer these questions.
All right. Well,
That seems weird. Like history is the story of the past. The meeting between human and giant would surely be something of the past rather than something out of fairy stories.
Oh, well, I mean, I can tell you more or less how the land came to be seeded, but it's as your father said. The giants came in and started running amok, stomped a few villages down, knocked over a tower, and everybody left.
In that case, Uncle, it's far easier just to say, I do not have that knowledge. I do not know. My histories are incomplete.
You would do wise to remember that you are not the end-all and be-all here. There is no point in insulting or mocking those who are older than you. young man. You may
Uncle
be good with
Angus.
the sword, but your
Uncle,
head is fairly empty.
More than that, I am the center of this universe.
Some kids you can't just can't talk to. Thought I never had.
You can talk to us. We just don't listen.
So your father comes back and says, comes back around. Maximilian, how much would it cost to create one of these things? Maximilian's kind of nodding back and forth and goes, well, maybe for wood and labor, steel, ropes. I think an estimate of about 200 gold pieces total. Providing that I do the oversee the construction. We hired someone from out of town, which would be ridiculous. The cost would probably go up a little bit. But materials and labor, I think we're on the order of 200 gold for a light ballista. Heavier ones, 50 or 100% more.
There's another complication, just thinking about it. I mean, if we actually really want to make something proper, if not, we can just stick one on top of our roof and at least we're safe. It would have to be mobile to a degree. So that I guess we can just put it on the back of a wagon, set it up.
He slowly shakes his head. Ballista need to be firmly planted on the ground. You put it on a wagon, you're just going to lose your firing position. It'll move back and forth, and it'll change its aim. You'll be unable to get a good second shot after the first. It needs a firm planted location.
I think what Stefan means is to be able to move it from location to location. The ballista, you'd be able to take it apart within an hour, hopefully, and then put it on a wagon, take it to another location, set it up there.
It would take time to move. Definitely couldn't be moved quickly. I suppose it could be disassembled and reassembled. Disassembled in an hour, moved and reassembled in a little more than an hour.
Because, of course, if we set it up in what we would expect is the best position, and then a giant turns up on the other side, then...
He nods.
Yeah.
Siege weapons are great for attacking a fortified position. For defending it, not so much. You gotta have kind of one facing every direction. Put a couple of ballista on the north side of town, a couple on the south side of town, you might be okay. But it gets expensive.
Is there no way you could make it something which could be moved and then could then be manipulated or
Mobile
something
artillery. Oh, that's the dream. It's the dream of warfare. Perhaps in
you a
the
very
olden
rich man.
days they had magic that allowed you to move great war machines back and forth. But that's exactly what caused the horrors of the Lost War. People were able to move giant ballistas firing Greek flame. Just move it from one side to the other of a kingdom quickly. People died
But,
in massive
Max,
numbers.
Maybe you're overthinking this. Couldn't you just knock the wheels out once you got it to a point, and then make it so you could just put them back on?
These things are heavy. They're very heavy, and you need good solid wheels to move them. And the cobblestones here are not ideal for moving something of that weight. It could be done, but you would have to lift the ballistas up onto the walls, and how would you do that?
Maybe if they're just on the walls and they just go around the walls. That's another thing. The point is to keep it outside the city. I don't know, just thinking. I mean, you're an engineer.
It might be.
The details up to you.
Many men to lift it and put it on wheels, and
What if it was
it might work, but
size?
have you ever been in a siege?
No.
I haven't, but from what my father's told me, it's messy stuff. You know, you put wheels on these ballistas, keep them on the wall, and if something goes wrong, the whole ballista topples inside the wall and falls to its ruin. You know, it could be moved, but moving it along the edge of the wall. You know, one false step and the whole ballista's ruined. It's,
Again, that's just another little problem for you to solve. I don't care about the details, but
that's
you know,
why you're not in charge of these things. The details are important.
okay, you
Look,
see
I'll
the
leave
details.
you. I'll leave you to the bashing of heads and the that sort of unintelligent warfare. When it comes to matters of siegecraft, precision is necessary, and you must take into account the human factor. People panic. People are ill-trained. People make mistakes. You know, it's risky business.
I'm quite sure if an attack did occur, then we could convince the Countess to get a posse up to which you could then drill to your heart's content and train them up. We have our father here who is good at drilling, at the very least. But all these things can be sorted out in time. Perhaps just see what you can do.
Well, if you release the funds from the treasury, I can start building some ballista. I'll have to speak to the Countess about their positioning on the walls.
Well, maybe we do it the other way around. We speak to the Countess first and see what she has to say. Or we just do it ourselves and then take the credit for it in the time of need. What does everyone think?
I don't think we have the disposable income to be paying for ballistas.
I agree.
don't think we have the time.
Oh, of course not. We've already gone through that, sister. It's not about the actual practicalities. It's about being seen to fulfill a need.
Oh, all right. Say the giant attacks tonight. What would we do?
Run.
As
I'd
a
love to
chuckle.
listen to our conversation. So, but obviously, if in a situation where there is high fear, and we've just had our security taken away from us, then there's something to be a blanket to reassure, to comfort the populace, especially if that blanket was put on by our loving arms. You know, there are obviously good things could come. An opportunity could come from that, sister.
I see what you're saying now.
Good. So maybe Max, just start drawing up the plans. Get a plan together, whatever.
He nods and immediately shuffles off to his study. Okay, why don't we take our first break here, and when we come back, we will, well, we'll see what you guys are going to do with the rest of your day, the rest of the week. See you guys on the other side of our break. Bye-bye.